If you've played Wuthering Waves, you've probably heard this sentence at least once. Oh, Wuthering Waves, it's just Genshin but with different graphics. And if you've played Genshin Impact, you might have heard the opposite. UA is what Genshin should have been. But here's the real question. Why are we still comparing these two games after such a long time? And is that actually a good thing? As we all know, Wuthering Waves and Genshin's Impact's history isn't a new thing. Starting from the very beginning of UA's initial reveal in May 2022, both Genshin and non-Genshin players started comparing the two of them, either saying how better it is or how worse it is. This is no coincidence. Both games are open world and also ARPGs, since people realized that comparisons would be inevitable. Today, we'll talk about why people compare both games and why it matters, sometimes. With that in mind, let's get into it. Now, let's address the obvious. Both Wuthering Waves and Genshin Impact are open-world action RPGs with anime-style visuals, element-based characters, character switching mechanics, stamina systems, and gacha monetization obviously. You explore vast maps, you collect characters, you farm artifacts or echoes, you collect weekly boss materials, and a bunch of other common gacha tropes. On a surface level, yes, they do look very similar, and that's exactly why the comparison started in the first place. However, while both games are open-world ARPGs, we should keep in mind that their core combat approach is different. Genshin focuses heavily on elemental reactions and team synergy. Your team damage often depends more on setup than actual mechanical execution, while UA leans more into mechanical skill expression, dodging, parrying, combos, and overall faster combat pacing. Okay, now let's talk about the good side of this comparison. As we all should know by now, competition is very healthy and should be encouraged by the community, because people constantly compare both Wuthering Waves and Genshin Impact. Video games and Hoyoverse are pushed to innovate. Kit designs, stories, new mechanics, and outdated systems. For example, when UA launched, they changed some of Genshin's outdated systems, like no overflowing stamina, the exploration experience, and the scheduled domains. The only real thing that was lacking at launch was the story, and even then, that got improved in the next patches. The same thing happened to Genshin after the disaster that was Natlan. We reached Notcry and the story improved. So, as we could observe, when two titans exist, the only path forward is improvement, or at least it should be, if Hoyoverse pulled their head out of their asses. Anyways, we get better updates, more rewards, and a more polished story overall. Overall, I think this side of comparison should be encouraged, unlike some other types of comparisons, as we'll talk about next. Here's where things get a bit messy. Sometimes these comparisons turn tribalistic. Instead of discussing mechanics, design philosophy, or strengths and weaknesses, it becomes, oh, UA copied everything. UA is just gathering wives. Which is a good thing, by the way. Genshin is shit, providing no proof or at least acknowledgement that there were some improvements. Systems that were already changed / improved. And the most annoying, showing nitpicky story segments. By doing all that, it just becomes defending your favorite game like it's a sports sim. The constant comparison also creates unrealistic expectations. People expect Wuthering Waves to have 4 years of content polish on the launch day, and in present day, 6 years, forgetting that Genshin Impact has had years of updates, expansions, and refinement. When comparison becomes bias instead of critique, it stops being positive and productive and just becomes destructive and annoying. And this isn't even a new thing. Every time a major gacha game enters the market, it gets compared to the current giant. It happened before, and it will happen again. When one game dominates the genre, it becomes a benchmark. So Wuthering Waves isn't being compared because it's copying, it's being compared because Genshin set the gacha standard by basically being Breath of the Wild but free in a time when we all had to be at home for multiple days in a row, even months some people. So, should we keep doing it? Should we keep comparing both games? Yes, but we have to be smart about it. Comparisons are only useful when highlight strengths and weaknesses, encourage improvement, are overall objective, and finally, help players decide what fits their preferences. And this one was the most important one. When are they harmful? They are harmful when they turn into a discussion for the sake of winning, ignore context, or start nitpicking irrelevant stuff. Looking at you or your Twitter. But hey, at the end of the day, comparison only matters if it pushes the gacha genre forward. If it encourages better development, better listening to players, and better games overall, then yes, we should keep doing it. Because remember, you don't get loyalty points for defending a billion-dollar corporation online. If both games improve because they're competing with each other, we all win. And that's the only side that actually matters. Yeah guys, that was the video. Please join our Discord and consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. See you in the next video.